Joining us now is WGN political analyst and host of the WGN Political Report, Paul Lisnek.
Hey guys.
Let's start with Kamala Harris, Vice President unveiling her economic plan in North Carolina. You say it's not plausible.
Well, the question is, how will she pay for it? Now, you could say the same thing about Donald Trump as well. Everybody's got grand plans, but then you have to sit and watch it and go, and how are you going to pay for this? So her program, which she's calling an opportunity economy, she made that clear today in North Carolina, focusing in on the middle class, but she has housing help and $25,000 down payment help for people making their first homes and stuff. So
and people who have babies, there's
$6,000 credit
them,
for a newborn. So it all sounds inviting, and I'm sure it is, but what she's going to have to answer is, and where is this getting paid for? Because if you're going to come up with that money and that extra increase in credits, it's got to come from somewhere. She didn't specify that.
Economy was big for both of them this week. Trump did his own grocery presentation, and he went on personal attacks. You know, despite the fact that his staff, his team is saying, stay on message. He is apparently unable to do that.
It's interesting. He had 3 attempts this week to address the economy. The first one was also in North Carolina. She follows him there. Then he held a press conference where we thought he would address all of that in the economy. And then, of course, he had the event you're talking about at Bedminster, where his team, I think, put all sorts of products behind him, maybe to keep him on track. He talked a little about the economy, but he's just pretty well convinced that his approach needs to be going after Harris and going after Biden still, and that's where he focuses his attacks. It is pretty clear that shifting to policy would be a good idea. You can't use the same strategies for Biden against Harris. He's in a different race now. He's got a different opponent now, and he's got to be more direct about that. He's using the same insults, the same lines. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, do you think he knows what her economic plan is, and what are the differences between the two?
Well, he didn't know it yesterday.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things he said was, you know, she's probably waiting for me to say mine so that she'll just copy it. He said that because he did a while back talk about the no taxes on tips, and then she did pick up on that, and now they both are talking about that. He seemed to come out first with it. But no, I don't think he knew yesterday what it was that she was going to do. They both share like child tax credits. Harris would give a little more than at least what J.D. Vance talked about. The problem is, to be honest, Trump went off the rails so much on these other things, we didn't get a lot of his plans.
A lot of people are saying he's spending time insulting rather than laying out his economic plan.
Well, that's
and if he did that, then maybe people would know what's going on.
Look, the one thing we do know, the one thing we do hear about is this Project 2025. That's what gets a lot of attention on the Republican side. And Trump is doing everything he can to distance himself from that plan. He said, I don't know these people who are involved. It's the Heritage Foundation. He's been on airplanes with these people. So clearly, because this on social issues is so tough for Republicans, that's where the conversation has been. Micah, you're right. If he just talked about the economy and just, and talked about those plans, he might shift the national conversation. To date, he hasn't done it.
I think a lot of people on both sides of the political aisle would argue that, well, policy is not his strong suit. He's not going to do that. He's going to go to what is his comfort, and that is to attack his opponent. Let's switch gears. The DNC starts on Monday.
Really? I'm on vacation next week.
Uh-oh. We're going to have to call that one back. How will the Democrat show differ from the Republican show, and what do you think the Democrats have to do to make a case to the rest of the undecided voters?
Well, Ray, let's start with how the Democrat show is going to be different from what that show would have been a few weeks ago.
Right, exactly.
President Biden would have been the final night speaker on Thursday. He is now the opening night festivities, along with Hillary Clinton, and I think it's going to be a heck of a show for him. Democrats are so relieved that he made the big decision to step down that I think you will see tremendous honor and respect for him. Hillary Clinton will probably come out and sort of talk about the difficulties of being that female candidate. So there's going to be sort of a sense of, and they use this word a lot, joy and happiness is going to surround this event. In the Republican convention before, it was, remember, Trump had been shot at, and so he had, he had the bandage on. There's a different tenor and tone in that convention. I think you're going to see this to be just a very light approach going forward, and hopefully on Thursday, this is the largest audience that Harris is going to have ever had. A lot of criticism for her not doing a press conference to this point. She's going to have to do it shortly thereafter, but at least that night, she may have 40 or 50 million people listening to what she has to say.
This DNC may be the most inclusive ever They've got a lot of women behind, black
Yeah.
women especially behind it. You've got Mignon Moore, who's running the DNC. You've got Jamie Harrison, who is the Democratic National Committee chairman. And you have a lot of women behind the scenes, especially from Chicago.
Well, and one of the things that's important, as you know about that, Micah, is you have to neutralize the issue a bit. Everybody knows that her running as a woman of color is an issue in and of
Do
itself.
you think it's because of that, or it's just happens to be? I mean,
No,
would it have been that way anyway with
don't
Biden?
I don't think it's, no, I'm not so sure it would have been.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's unrelated. I'm not saying it's the cause of it, but I think that there needs to be, the Democrats are seeking to neutralize the issues. She is the candidate. She's the one that has been tapped to do what it is the party and the country needs, according to the Democrats, and they're handling it for
But I do have to tell you, a lot of these people were in place long before Kamala Harris came.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about who's going to give speeches, who's going to, what the show is going to look different than it would have looked like, right? So
I was talking behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
The inclusivity of it.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you,
All right,
Paul.
what's coming up on the show?
Hey, on this Sunday, we're going to have a panel and talk about all of this coming up next week as well. In addition, on the midday next week, on Tuesday, I'm going to be interviewing Jordan Klepper. You all know him from The Daily Show. He'll be in studio at 12:15. And on Wednesday at 11:30, I'll be talking to Dr. Fauci.
Oh, really? Is he coming in?
No, it'll be remote,
Zoom.
but
Okay.
He stopped doing interviews on his book. He agreed to do one more with us.
Wow, because you're Paul Lisnek.
I'm hoping.
All right.
Way to
Thank
go.
you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Starting Monday morning, as you heard, we are going to bring you live continuous coverage from inside and outside the convention hall. From the big speeches on the convention stage to the protests on Chicago streets. We'll include events across the city. Tune in live throughout the day here on WGN. We're also streaming on WGNTV.com and the WGN Plus app.